Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript party here. My buddy Rhett. We're just hanging out, writing some code. It is 8:16 on a Thursday morning, the Thursday after daylight savings starts. So went to bed fairly early last night and woke up fairly late this morning, and I still am just so tired. It's just wild. I don't know. Now, one fun fact that most people don't realize is that until about the 1700s, the first of the year was like sometime in early March. Not, I think it might have been March 1st, and then it shifted over to December to January 1st, like in the 1700s, some point in time. I think I read that somewhere. That's what makes kind of like trying to understand what year things were done when you start looking at like history books. That's one of the many things that makes it really, really tricky to figure out exact dates in the past, is because there was a point where like February was in the previous year, not in the next year. Um, so like if you went February, March, April, there's times where that would have been a year change, and then there's times when that wouldn't have been a year change. So you might think that like if something happened February 15th and then it happened again on March 15th, um, in but the year was changed. Like if it was February 15th, 1000, and then it went to March 15th, 1001, that's only a month. But you might think it's a year and a month because in today's calendar, it would be a year and a month. So those are kind of things that I think you end up really edge cases that you look for whenever you write code a lot, because those things really will bite you. Um, but anyways, so I'm ready to do some unit testing for some code that I wrote yesterday because I want to do a commit. And that's sort of one of the rules that I applied to myself, is that I would like to write before I do any kind of unit test, before I do any kind of commit, I want to have 100% test coverage. I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea. Although I think it would be really great if you could have like when a junior came in, if they could spend like a whole year just writing unit tests on the code, that the existing code, and any new code that's written, and then before they start getting their own tasks to do. And then once they started doing their own tasks, I feel like they would be in the mindset of writing code in such a way that it will pass unit tests, because they know there's a new junior that's going to come along and they may end up having to rewrite things because it can't be unit tested. And so that, I think that would be a really good way, but I don't think it's a good use of like a senior developer's time. Depending on what your system, how your system is set up, maybe it is a good use of a senior developer's time, but I think it's probably better if the senior developers just sort of knock it out work, and junior developers are sort of maybe writing unit tests, and mid-level developers are sort of maybe toggling back and forth, and then once they get to that senior level, they're not writing unit tests anymore. um, but it is a chicken and egg thing, because honestly there's a lot of code that just cannot be unit tested, if you depending on how you write it. Anyways, so what I have been doing is just like kind of commenting out um, code that will inadvertently or as a side effect run other code to give me a fake code coverage. But I think there's a way to only run it. Apparently, I can say describe.only. According to ChatGPT, I gave it a very important question because I am using Jasmine Karma for unit testing. Is there a way for me to set up set up, it should be to run a single unit test suite. The suite part is important because I want the whole suite to run, and then I'm assuming that it will update the code coverage, so that I could see if a suite is being tested properly. So the code that I changed. Looks like I changed two files, um, three files. Oh, that's a three up there, not a two. Um, So basically, I removed a bunch of stuff here, so I don't think I need to write any unit tests. I added a couple of types, so I don't need to unit test that. But this is the piece I want to unit test, and this is the function I want you to test because I had 100% and all that. So basically, I'm going to go back to the file view, and I'm going to go to animation spec, and I'm going to try this describe dot only. And I believe that will give me everything in this unit test. Now I can't do much this morning because it's already 8:21. I have to start work in 39 minutes. I'm going to have to call it. And I barely got on. See this? So dot only does not describe only. So let's just try running it. Maybe it's just an IDE issue. I do not think it is an IDE issue, but now I remember from having done this a bunch of times that I can npm run test will run my unit tests. It's in my packages. Normally I don't really remember things like that. I'm expecting this to fail because I think the ID is right. I definitely don't want to update my Karma config because I do want this to, yeah, see. It's throwing an error. Oh. It looks like it's only, it doesn't, I don't think it cares about that. I think it's upset that this guy doesn't have an ID. And I'm just gonna hard code it to 1. It'll be interesting to see if that ever comes back to bite me. I don't think it will. Fortunately, this is just happening within this unit test, so I should never, I don't think I'll ever have code where when you're just running a unit test, if you happen to have a collision in ID names. But speaking of those, that is one sort of future problem. That's going to be a problem for me in the future because what's going to happen in the future is I definitely want to have exports and imports. I definitely want to get that going first. I think at first I'm just going to have a text box that you can just paste the JSON into. But these IDs are calculated, so that means they probably shouldn't be in the one that you could paste. You probably should not be able to change the ID manually or even have access to it. And not having an ID will probably be my way of determining, oh, this is something new. Because I don't want to, like, yeah, there's a million reasons, but let's see if this fixes the problem. And I've been having a problem with that. Okay, so it's complaining. I think the only thing it's complaining about is this only. I don't think that that's right. And it doesn't even, now having used ChatGPT for a while, it doesn't even begin to surprise me that this doesn't work for me. I don't know if it works for anybody. I don't know if it's a versioning issue or whatever, but I could have sworn you put an F in front of it for focus, but let's see. Yeah, so it still failed. Yeah, it doesn't know what the only is. Let's try going from my memory before we go back to interacting with ChatGPT. Okay, so yeah, it is what I remembered. So I don't know what that's all about. Sometimes you learn a lot by doing this. Oh, you're right, Jasmine. Oh my gosh. Okay. Does that tell me I'm using Jasmine Mocha, not Karma? Okay, what does it say? Yes, you're at a single. Okay, that was my original thing. Jasmine does not have only like Mocha does. I never said. Yeah, okay, so I said Jasmine Karma, not Jasmine Mocha. Anyways, yeah, so there's that. So now we know that if you were on Mocha, which I've never used Mocha before, but all that, that would be um, that. So, anyways, now I think I'm hoping I can use. So this is what I get. Let me just show you real quick. So it ran 3 tests. It looks like, um, and um, and that's good. I think that's good. And now what we want to do is see what our code coverage is. Um, Now that's something I've seen checked in so many times is an F in front of something, which that is such a disaster because people will put an F a in front of a call, and then in front of a unit test, and then they're like, look, it all works for me, and it passes the CI/CD build, and they check a bunch of broken stuff in, and it gets through all the gates uh, because they focused the unit tests, and then all hell breaks loose because now that's checked in, and now that problem is everyone's problem. Um, so that's always hilarious, especially right before you're doing that. Okay, so animations is the one we care about. All the rest of these don't matter. It is kind of crazy that we have any of these other. Oh, I guess because the materials and all that. So it, but all the rest of these are side effects. They should, you know, in my mind, it would be nice if they were all zero at this point. But anyways, so we have 87%, 50% not of our statements, half of our branches, 87% of our functions. That's always interesting when they're the same, and then 87% of the lines. So 27 of 31, half of our branches, and 7 out of 8 functions are being called. And as we expected, this add animations is not being called. So that is probably going to be at least the name of the next step. So basically we want, it should be able to add an animation. Because it is only 8:29. It would be really nice if I could get this done today. Okay. Able to add an animation. And then and then let's just say, I think we just call it service, right? Whenever it's the one that we're actually being done. And then add animation. And then what we give it, we have to give it a ST renderer. So that's the first, yeah, an ST mesh. So do I create? So we're just gonna do this. I don't think we need a whole renderer. I think this is all we need. Is the ST renderer ID. Then we need to get our renderer. Oh, okay. And that's what this line does. So in there will be a mesh. It builds a mesh automatically for us. I don't know if that's a good, now that I think about it, it kind of sounds like a side effect, but a renderer, I guess that's like saying, if you built something to give you a car and then you're like, oh, as a side effect, I get an engine. Now I guess an engine is part of a car. So I guess it is not weird that we're going to get a mesh. And so basically we want the first mesh, right? So const st mesh, which is an st mesh. And that's going to be equal to st renderer dot st scene, I think. I think it lives inside the scene dot st meshes and 0. And see, this is sort of the deep understanding of something that you build that I don't think I normally get without the unit test. I think the unit test is probably the biggest reason I understand this, is because I have to go through this a lot. But maybe it's just because it's well architected. But anyways, I was able to just sort of go straight to a mesh. So the very first thing an add animation has in it is an st mesh. And then the second thing it has in it is an alias, which there's only a few of these I can do. So, and I don't understand why it's not helping me. Help me. So I see up here, do I create an alias? Create animation for ID. I don't understand. Oh, because do I do it up here? Somewhere I think I create an animation manually. Let's see, A. Oh, 1. We'll just do 1. And it's supposed to be a supported an alias. So let's just do that. Const alias colon. I don't remember what it's called. Is this our, where do we get our, oh, here's one. This is what I'm looking for. But now that I've started down this path, this is a supported, oh, 3 alias type. I wonder if I should have said supported in front of that. Oh my gosh, I misspelled const. Is equal to, so the first part is it doesn't know what this is. So let's bring that bad boy in. So just kind of take a quick peek up here. Make sure it didn't do anything too weird. It didn't. And now, hopefully, there we go. And that is our alias. What's the next thing? Temporal. Const temporal colon supported temporal. Gosh darn it. Why Why is this gotta be such a pain in the butt? You, sir, are a pain in the buttocks. Oh, it's just temporal types. Okay. All right, so this is a temporal type. And that is equal to, oh, it doesn't have it imported yet. And that is equal to, we only have a couple possible, or one, yeah, infinite. Doesn't even matter, because we're not doing anything with it. And so this becomes temporal. And redraw. Oh, and we actually have it right there, redraw types, okay. Equals, oh, so it brought it in, continuous is the one that we've been using. Redraw. Const time 0 equals 0 and const values equals 1. And we're going to send time and values, time, comma, values. And this is like sort of a really good way to just kind of self-document, you know, like okay, so that's something, it definitely reran. That happened. Let's reload, see if we, so I think we are at 100, no, 50% on branches. Don't understand where the 50% on branches, because we don't see any branches that aren't covered here. So anyways, so let's remove our F and see if when we run, if, I don't understand that. That doesn't make any sense to me, but, because it's not showing a branch missing. It's showing these two little things, but I don't think those are branches. I'm very curious now. Let's not do that. So it's mad that, will that go away if I say number? And then, no, it's still, I don't know what this is. Branch not covered. Branch not covered. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Oh, okay. So it's saying it's upset that I didn't call it without a time and a values. There we go. So we didn't actually test it yet. Let's see, where are we at time yet? Oh, 8:40, I still have time. Okay, so what do we expect? We expect the renderer will now have an alias. So before we do this, we don't expect the renderer to have, not an alias, but expect we don't expect, we expect st meshes, st mesh dot st animations dot length. So we expect it not to have any animations before we, is it 2 equal? 0. Because basically when we get a basic, so we got we didn't fail, so that's good. So when you get a basic, I wonder if I put that under there now. So if I were to say 1, it should fail. And I think you always want to actually fail things just to make sure the stuff's really working. If you just go straight to success and then you just, yeah, 0. And then after we add an animation, we expect the animation length to be equal to 1. And we really do want it to be equal to 1. We don't want some weird thing to happen where we end up with okay, so somehow I ended up with 2 animations. So there seems to be some sort of, oh no, it should equal to 2 because we add 2 of them. Over here it should be equal to 1, and then over here it should be equal to 2 because we added 1 here and then we added another one, so that makes sense. And we're good. Now let's get rid of that F. Describe. And then come over here to our code coverage report. All files, and bask in the glory of our perfect scores. And just imagine how jealous all of our peers will be and how proud our parents will be as if you were brought up in the American education system, your anxiety level has just dropped dramatically. You may get a special treat for your report card as you've gotten perfect scores. Anyways, as you sound a bit bitter about my school, because I very rarely saw anything like this when I was in school. Generally, I saw like F's and bad grades, and then I'd get in a lot of trouble when I got home from school. But fortunately, now I have my perfect scores, and let's see let's go down here. Yeah, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. So now that I have control over my life, I can control to get hundreds. But if you're not from the American education system and you guys had some other way of sort of encouraging and discouraging learning and not learning and bad behavior and stuff like this may not have the same impact on you, but it's probably good for you to understand that this is the kind of thing that was highly, highly drilled into anyone who came up in the American system. Who now, I guess I don't know how it works with homeschooled kids. Like homeschooled kids may not be the same, but for public school kids and private school kids, this is probably the system they grew up in. Anyways, everybody, happy be coding. I got 15 minutes before work, so I got plenty of time to log in, although I do need to find my phone. Bye.